New rifts over mandatory mask mandates.
But the cartoon serves as an example of how politicized common sense public health measures have become.
No let-up in homicides, why the White House is now getting involved.
As of yesterday, Kansas City had reached 100 homicides, a 40% increase from last year.
What's the fix, and will it work? Also this week, the Redskins and the Indians say they're open to renaming their teams. Are the Chiefs next? And what about the drums and the chop? Plus, meet Kansas City's $500 million man and $4 million woman.
Week in Review is made possible through the generous support of Dave and Jamie Cummings, Bob and Marlise Gorley, Smithfield Foods, Haas and Wilkerson Insurance, the Courtney S. Turner Charitable Trust, John H. Mize and Bank of America N.A. co-trustees, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome everyone, I'm Nick Haynes. If you're struggling to keep up with the news, you're definitely not alone. With one major news development after another, it's tough to track. We try to make sense of it all this half hour with some of the biggest headlines and trends where we live. Checking in with us is Lisa Rodriguez, City Hall reporter for KCUR News, the managing editor of the Call newspaper, Eric Wesson, from KCMO Talk Radio, Pete Mundo, and KMBC9 chief political reporter, Michael Mahoney. Now that we're getting a little more used to seeing so many people around us wearing masks, this Sunday, Kansas City's mandatory mask order will expire. Well, it was going to. Now it's being extended. Lisa, can you just tell me, first of all, though, why was July 12th considered such a magic number even in the first place?
I think the city has been kind of making these decisions in these 2-week increments, because I think, health data has shown that in 2 weeks is when you can begin to see a trend. You can begin to see where outbreaks are in that 2-week sense. And so I think that has been the reasoning behind these kind of 2-week increments for orders.
And you see in the state of Kansas, that doesn't expire until September 15th. I see Pete Mundo in Columbia, Missouri. They put a 90-day mask order in place. So that you will be wearing a mask there until October 10th, if my math is right there on that one. Are people using different data then to decide what these expiration dates should be?
Well, I think you're seeing, Nick, some of the more heavier population centers certainly taking a stronger approach. The idea being it's more difficult to social distance in a more urban area in either state than it is in some of the more rural parts of the state. So I think that's an obvious point that's being brought up here, and I understand it. But you do have a weird thing going on where, depending on which health official you talk to and which county and which side of the state line or anywhere in the country, the opinions vary, and I think that has made it frustrating and confusing for a lot of people to follow.
Now, though, that we're all of us in our metro basically have been a full week, at least a week now, where we are wearing masks, are we seeing more people wearing them? What's been the reaction? Are we seeing some people saying absolutely not, police coming in, health department officials shutting down businesses, Michael?
No, but we are seeing more people, at least my personal experience here, more people at gas stations, more people at stores wearing masks when they go in or when they're around. The enforcement on this, at least here, is going to be done by public health officials and not by the cops, in contrast to, say, Columbia, Missouri, where people can be facing a fine of $15 if they were busted for not wearing a mask.
Eric, last week you said you went to a taco place in Ward Parkway and said hardly anyone was wearing masks. I was actually at that joint this week, and there was like a line out the door of about 50 people, most of them not wearing masks, and very little social distancing.
And they were like jam-packed in there. And I guess the reality of it hasn't really sunken in, and maybe it's a situation where early on it was reporting that Hispanics and blacks were getting this, and maybe some people think that they're immune to it, but I don't think people really still today take this serious. I think they think that they're either going to get it or they're not, and they're not going to change their lifestyles.
Kansas Governor Laura Kelly was decrying how the mask orders have been politicized this week. That after a Kansas newspaper posts an online cartoon depicting Kelly wearing a Star of David mask as people are loaded into a cattle car.
In Garnett, Kansas, the Anderson County Weekly Review posted this cartoon last week showing the governor against the backdrop of a Holocaust photo. The caption, "Lockdown Laura says put on your mask, step onto the cattle car." The governor says this cartoon is more than hurtful.
But the cartoon serves as an example of how politicized common sense public health measures have become.
Now, the publisher of that newspaper has since apologized, Michael Mahoney. Is that the end of that story now?
Yeah, probably it is, although it was interesting that the publisher, Mr. Hicks, who drew the cartoon, issued a couple of statements, but he's in the news business and he wasn't taking interviews, and I found that interesting.
It's interesting, though, in the state of Kansas, while she has this policy in place, very, very few counties, I think more than almost 90% of counties have said they're not following it in the state of Kansas. So clearly, despite what's happened there, Pete, not much compliance.
You have the population centers that are, for the most part, abiding by it. But when you have some of these more rural communities, they are not seeing, for the most part, minus some of the places that might have prisons or might have, meat packing plants. They are not seeing the wide outbreak, and they have chosen a different approach.
Have local health officials fueled public anger by making political statements? This week, Kansas City Health Director Rex Archer blasted President Trump for purposely lying to the country and claiming he was responsible for at least 90% of the country's COVID deaths. He says he should receive life imprisonment. Lisa, has the mayor made any effort to encourage his health director to dial down any of that rhetoric?
Maybe privately, not in any sort of a public way that I have seen. But I think that we're now in a time where emotions are high. But I think for health directors to stick to the facts, to stick to the numbers is the most effective way to communicate.
Michael.
Respectfully, Lisa, he did speak publicly about it. I did an interview with him a couple of days ago where he said much the very same thing that you just said. He thought that Archer's role and his mission is to give what they believe to be objective information about wearing masks, objective information about public health, and to get pulled into partisan politics to that interferes with the mission of that. And when you looked at Archer's statement or his tweet, it was loaded with people that said the very same thing, that he's out over his skis, if you will, that he was getting into partisan politics there. Now, Lisa, as you and I both know, because we've heard Rex Archer say this a lot, that he's not a big fan of the federal response or President Trump in particular. But it was where Lucas said, it was probably not productive for his role as a public health official.
Pete.
Yeah, and just to add to that, this is nothing new. The doctor has been doing this for about 3 months, and we've asked the mayor about it on our show previously, and he said he was going to talk to him privately, and he didn't support it. So this was before what happened this week. Obviously, that has not had the impact that many people projected, but to what Michael and Lisa said, you are relying on these individuals to guide you in the right direction, whether you're Republican, Democrat, white, black, Latino, Asian, doesn't matter, male, female, and to have a partisan divide like this, one of your own doing, is just a major miscalculation and a major misstep on the judgment side.
Do you want to weigh in on that, Eric?
Rex did jump in early and was very critical about the government. So I think his response was pretty much par for the course and how he really feels. And there's probably a segment of people that feed into it and believe it and kind of honor and respect his position and even mention it or saying anything about it.
No let-up in homicides in Kansas City, and the mayor so frustrated he sends an SOS letter to the governor calling for immediate help in responding to spiraling homicides in the city. While Missouri Governor Mike Parson is working on whether he should have a special session of the legislature to tackle violent crime, the White House is getting involved now. It's not often you hear Kansas City brought up in an official White House press briefing. That changed this week.
Attorney General Barr has directed agents from the Department of Justice's law enforcement agencies, the FBI, U.S. Marshal, DEA, and ATF, to be on the ground in Kansas City within the next 10 days to help state and local officials fight the surge of violent crime. Operation Legend is named after 4-year-old Legend Taliaferro, who tragically died on June 29th as a result of being shot in the face while he slept in his home.
It sounds really impressive when we're talking about more than 100 agents, including FBI officials, coming into town, Eric Wesson. But what does it actually mean?
The jury is still out on that, on whether it's if there's going to be anything that's going to be effective. What are their responsibilities going to be? What's their jurisdiction going to be? I think the question for me is, how did the White House get involved in it? Because Mayor Lucas sent a letter to the governor. Did the governor send it to the attorney general? And how it's kind of gotten out of hand so far. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and the mayor saying this week, Lisa, that he was caught unawares. He was reading about this the same time everyone else in Kansas City was.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay,
He said he
Lisa?
found out via Twitter that this had happened. He had no advance warning. Now, there has been some pushback to that, but he says he didn't know any of the details and still doesn't. But he's also said that he hopes if these federal agents are in town, that they're focused on providing investigative support and not out on the streets patrolling. That's not what he wants from federal assistance.
So this is not going to, this is about clearing homicides that have taken place, finding the culprits. This is not about preventing crime, Pete.
No, and that's the mayor made that clear in his statement. He said that on my show Thursday. He's not expecting tanks rolling down the streets or anything like that. Majority of people, heavy majority, probably will not even notice that they are here. And, when you look at this and trying to solve what is a serious issue, if you can get to the bottom, and don't forget, Legend's family apparently endorsed this move. If you can find these criminals, regardless of what your long-term solutions are, on a short-term basis, find these criminals, get them off the streets. I don't see how that's a partisan political issue at all. It seems like a win for the community.
There have been other recent efforts at federal participation in trying to improve the homicide problem or correct the homicide problem here in Kansas City with mixed results.
Now,
And let me add one other thing. Does it look like, or is it a situation where it makes Kansas City police and the prosecutor's office look incompetent?
You mentioned the police, Eric, because since we last gathered around this table, 2 police officers have been shot. One of them is still in critical condition after being shot in the head.
Some of this is the negative narrative on law enforcement, and, I'm trying to bite my tongue here, but it's frustrating.
It's very difficult to talk to the officers right now.
Police chief right after those shootings about a month ago, Channel 9 reported that morale was already poor in the police and some officers were threatening to leave. How have these latest shootings impact local officers, Michael?
Well, the same thing, and it simply brings to home how stressful the last month or 5 or 6 weeks has been on this department. They had the protests, they had the scrutiny, they had the reforms that are coming, and now they had this officer that's still fighting for his life. The chief said last week at the police board meeting that he's not out of the woods yet. And just to kind of pivot on this, if you will, Nick, for a second, what's going to happen here in Missouri? Well, they're going to have this special session that you may have referred to just a few moments ago. The governor's office may announce within the next couple of days that this special session on violent crime is going to take place. And it will probably be, I understand, in August, not in September during the veto session. And this violent crime bill that they're going to run, as I understand it, is going to be a companion to the violent crime bill he just signed. There were 2 major elements of that bill that did not make it into the law, and they are provisions for witness protection and provisions to relocate witnesses so that they have some security about testifying.
I'm not in any way negating the importance of those things, but Eric, these don't seem to be huge differences that are going to have a massive impact on the homicide rate we're currently experiencing in Kansas City, is it?
I believe it won't have any impact. Got to do something about the guns. That's the issue.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
but how do you...
Well, that's maybe the ATF coming in with the rest of the feds.
But could you imagine the Missouri legislature doing anything in a special session about guns, particularly when you have a governor running for re-election this year and most of the legislators running for re-election, Peter?
No, won't happen.
No.
That won't happen.
No. Election year, no, not happening. Not even a conversation starter.
Okay. Now, while violent crime is now one of the city's biggest unsolved problems, could it be worse? Did you see the headlines this week in Atlanta where, after a spate of shootings and protests, the governor of Georgia sends in 1,000 National Guard troops? Unrest there has seen the resignation of the police chief, and there are reports of Atlanta officers walking off their shifts and, in some cases, not responding to 911 calls. Is there any evidence that's been happening in Kansas City, Lisa?
I don't think so. I don't think we're at that point. I think that police still have been responding. And I think, as evidenced by, two officers being, injured and shot in the line of duty, they are responding, and they're responding with the same force. Now, morale may be low, but I think anytime any institution is kind of reimagining or rethinking what the core of that is, it's tough and it's exhausting work, and it's exhausting work for everyone.
Well, this week, Target joins Nike and FedEx in calling for the Washington Redskins to change the team's name. Nike removing Redskins merchandise from their online stores, Target following suit. The team's owners, for the first time, say they're now launching a thorough review of the name, and the Cleveland Indians has also announced it's open to a name change. A number of national stories now see the dominoes falling far wider, with the Atlanta Braves and the Kansas City Chiefs being pushed to make changes. Have the Chiefs organization, though, made any statements that the name is under review, Michael?
Not to my knowledge, and I don't know. If they get there, just very quickly, I've got a suggestion for a new name. How about the Kansas City Monarchs?
It's interesting what's happening in these other communities, Lisa, including, for instance, what's happening now in Washington and with Cleveland, is where you have pressure from corporations. We're not seeing any pressure in Kansas City from corporations to say they're not going to help fund, or they're removing any Kansas City Chiefs gear from Nike, for instance.
No, we haven't seen that. And I think that is ultimately what it would take to actually bring this conversation publicly to the Chiefs. I think unless they have that kind of pressure, they're going to kind of sit tight and continue, with the argument that they've used before, that this is an honorific rather than a caricature. And so I think it will take immense pressure for that to change.
Eric, don't you think there will be pressure, though, even if it's not a name change, to at least drop the drums before games, to drop the chop?
It might be for the chop, but I don't see the drum or the name change just yet. I don't think people are putting that much pressure on them right now. Everybody's focused on Patrick Mahomes winning a championship. I think they'll get a pass on the name right now, but I do see them doing something with that chop, with the tomahawk chop.
But Pete, you couldn't have seen all of the changes that have been taking place just in the last month. Everything from a Mississippi state flag that comes down after, decades. We've had so much tumultuous changes. Can you see a change going on at the Chiefs, at least in some of the rituals that they've been doing on game day?
With that, maybe I could, to Eric's point, I could see that change being implemented. I think a name change would be so controversial at this point, unless there were outside pressure on the corporate side, as Lisa mentioned. That's the only way I see it happening. But somewhere our good friend Dave Helling is tweeting about this right now, and he wants to get it done.
I don't think they're going to get the chop out of the stadium. This is the same place that they put home of the Chiefs on the Star-Spangled Banner. The fans aren't going to go.
Well, changing names has become a big deal in Kansas City, as you know, and one of Kansas City's best-known buildings has announced that changing its name this week. Stop saying Sprint Center. It is now officially going to be T-Mobile Center. You'll see the new signage come up next month with the recent T-Mobile buyout of Sprint. Was this just a matter of time, Lisa?
Yes, I think it absolutely was a matter of time. And this has been a conversation. As soon as that merger started rolling, people talked about, well, what's going to happen with the Sprint Center? And I think, unsurprisingly, they'll change the color from yellow to pink, and we'll have a new sign up there, and that'll be that.
We may not notice for a while, though, Pete, because nothing whatsoever is going on at Sprint Center. They can't get anybody to perform there.
Nope, nothing's going on. Nothing's happening soon. It's going to be a ghost town there for a long time, and I do not see that changing. So most people won't even notice it.
Now, we can talk about masks on this program, COVID-19. We can talk about violent crime. But for a significant slice of Kansas City, the biggest news story of the entire week was, as Eric points out, the announcement of a $500 million deal with Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Not only is it the richest contract in sports history, it keeps the 24-year-old in Kansas City for the next 12 years. McQuinton Lucas tweeted how good it is to talk about something light again in Kansas City. Is that why so many people are more willing to talk about this than COVID-19 or yet another murder, Michael?
Well, yeah, there's a big element of that. And then also the last refuge of conversation is either weather or sports. And that's here. There, at some point, is going to be a discussion about why are we paying this athlete $500 million for it. And my take on that is if an individual can get a great salary from his employer, more power to them. Is it excessive? Yeah, but the salaries of the best surgeons in the world are probably excessive as well. And he's clearly one of the best at the business of throwing a football. Is it excessive? Yeah, but more power to him for getting it.
Now that he is locked in and he's getting all of this money and he's not worried about his financial future, does that give him the liberation to speak out about things like the tomahawk chop, Pete?
No, I think that Mahomes will be avoiding that. I think he's very savvy. You know, for a 24-year-old, the way he has carried himself through a Super Bowl victory, through a regular season and a Super Bowl MVP has been wise beyond his years. There is no reason for Patrick Mahomes to get himself involved in this level of controversy that absolutely would just split the fan base. So I don't see him doing it.
But he appeared in a video with NFL figures, didn't he, Lisa? And he joined with LeBron James with a voting rights for African Americans who he feels have been disenfranchised. So he has got involved in some of these things.
What can they do to him about it? He has the opportunity to do that. And I like seeing athletes step up and get into social issues. But what do you think a hot dog is going to cost in the stadium in 2 years? $75, $150 to park, $50 million contract per season. That's going to be a lot of money. And it's got
particularly if they can't be playing with fans there in the stadiums. Lisa, did you want to weigh in on this?
I think it was just what Eric said in the inverse of what does he have to gain? It's what does he have to lose? He has been successful when he's spoken out so far. He has a loyal fan base and a lot of young people that are listening to him. I think it is his time to speak out.
All right. If Patrick Mahomes is the $500 million man this week, meet Kansas City's $4 million woman, Kansas State lawmaker Barbara Bollier, who's running as a Democrat for the U.S. Senate in Kansas, raising just short of that in the last fundraising quarter. It is the largest single quarter fundraising haul of any candidate in any race in Kansas City history, or Kansas history, rather, according to the Washington political newsletter, The Hill. The announcement comes as the final debate is canceled between the 4 Republicans who want to succeed Pat Roberts in the Senate. With candidates complaining they're being starved of attention, why cancel the last opportunity voters will get to see all of these candidates on the same stage together, Pete?
Because there was a lot of issues in terms of how that debate was going to go down. The state had it set up, the state party had it set up to be more of a forum where each candidate got 15 minutes with a moderator one-on-one. And Chris Kobach and Dave Lindstrom and Bob Hamilton wanted a true debate format where people could challenge each other, especially Chris Kobach, who got the other 2 guys on his side. He wants to go after Roger Marshall. He's been pushing this, I'm the true conservative. Marshall is a Republican in name only, a rhino for short, and he wants to keep hammering at that in a true debate format. And then the state party said, we're done, we're out, we're just canceling it. And that's how we got to where we are today.
I find it interesting, Michael, that all of this is happening in the Republican primary. You have Barbara Bollier making more money in one quarter than anybody else in Kansas history as a candidate. And yet the Cook Political Report, which is quite respected, is still saying this is a lean Republican Senate seat. So what would Barbara Bollier have had to have done to say lean Democrat in this?
Give $1 million to the Chris Kobach campaign. That would be the direct thing for her to do. The Republicans, a lot of Republicans believe that Kobach would lose the Senate race to Bollier. That would not happen with Marshall.
Now, when you put a program like this together every week, you can't get to every major headline making news in our metro. What was the big story we missed? There'll be no Nutcracker in Kansas City this year as the ballet, the symphony and the opera pull the plug on all performances at the Kauffman Center until next year. The Royals officially announced they're back in action 2 weeks from now, the season opener July 24th against Cleveland. Meanwhile, more Royals players testing positive for COVID-19. And the mayor of Lee Summit making his own announcement.
I did test positive for COVID-19. Hey, take care of yourself. It could happen to anyone.
Is this a sign that it's going to be tough to bring back schools? 82 COVID cases shut down a children's camp near Branson. While the attention is on Kansas City homicides, new figures show fatal car crashes now rising faster than the murder rate. Increased pandemic alcohol consumption is being blamed. Sur La Table on the Plaza, Thou Mayest Coffee Shop, and Hopcap in Westport adding their names to the growing list of businesses now permanently shutting their doors in KC. Did you pick one of those stories or something completely different, Lisa?
It's close. I think that that what we've missed is how restaurant workers are at risk for COVID-19. We saw at the very beginning a wave of restaurant closures due to shutdowns. Now we're seeing restaurants close again because some of their kitchen staff and serving staff have tested positive for COVID-19. And I think as we all rush to normalcy, one of the most normal things there is grabbing a bite to eat out. But there are workers there that are now more exposed, and I think that's something to keep an eye on.
Eric.
Next week, the government is going to start executing people again. One of the people that's on death row that's going to be executed killed a little girl over in Kansas, and he is slated to be killed next week as well.
Michael Mahoney.
Schools, the future of schools in the fall. Is it going to be back to class, or is it going to be back to the laptops? And I think this is the biggest decision that we'll make as a region and as a country and as education, the biggest decision since the decision to shut down the economy, because the way we handle the school issue is going to be related directly to the economy.
Pete Mundo.
I'm going to go with the fatality crashes, Nick. As you noted, they are 36% so far this year. 74% of those involve an impaired driver. What does that tell me? It tells me that, the past 4 months, I know we're very worried about COVID and its health implications, but there are health implications for isolation and driving people out of work. And that may be one of the many side effects we are seeing play out in real time.
And on that, we will say the week in Kansas City has been reviewed. Thanks to Lisa Rodriguez of KCUR News for checking in with us, along with Eric Wesson from The Call, Michael Mahoney from KMBC 9 News, and 6 to 10 weekday mornings on KCMO Talk Radio, Pete Mundo. And I'm Nick Haynes. From all of us here at KCPT, keep calm and carry on.